Alrighty. Well, welcome to the Random Hour. Today, Devin couldn't be here. He's got a comedy show. But today we are joined by Roo Ryder. Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm Rue. I'm the voice of Toriko Koshi in My Dear Friend Nokotan. I'm also the voice of a few characters in several different video games and animations and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, I'm a voice.
Okay. So we're a nerd and pop culture podcast. What are some things that
Mhm.
you nerd out of?
One Piece is definitely one of them. Let's see here. One Piece, cosplay, literally like anything anime. I'm all over that stuff all the time. I'm not as caught up on like the new stuff, but
Hmm.
I have watched a fair bit of stuff in the past.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah.
you're not caught up on the current One Piece, or you're not caught up on some newer anime?
So I'm not okay. I'm about 862 episodes into One Piece, I think, right now. So I'm in Whole Cake Island. I'm pushing
Hmm.
my way through. It's a slow process, but I've just been super busy and I haven't been able to sit down and really watch it. But I haven't been like super on the newer anime as far as like I know Solo Leveling is really big right now. What else is big? I haven't seen like Free Run or anything. There's some really good ones that people are like, you need to see it. And I'm like, I know, I just haven't been able to yet.
Oh yeah, I'm really good at binging, and so there was one day I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna start One Piece," and then that was 10 years ago. I forgot,
Yep.
and I was like, "Oh yeah, One Piece. I really like that show." And then so instead of watching it, I ended up getting all the box sets. Like
Hmm.
my birthday's in November, so I was like, "Hey, get me the One Piece box set," and I was able to work that through with Christmas and all the holidays.
Yeah.
And so I ended up powering through all of One Piece, catching up through the manga. And then I was like, I should go back and watch some of it. And I got my nephew into it.
I'm so bad about that too. Like I will try to get everybody I know into One
Hmm.
Piece just because it's such a good story. And I started watching it in I want to say 2022, 2023.
Hmm.
It's been about like 2 years or so and I got really far really fast and then once I started getting into like the 700s, 800s, I was kind of slowing down because I don't want to catch up yet. Like
Hmm.
I have gotten so many spoilers and everything, but I don't want to like be caught up and not be able to watch new content or new to me content
Yeah.
for a long time. And they just did their like 6 month hiatus. So all the people are like who have been watching had to wait a long time. And I'm like, not me. I could watch whenever I wanted. And it's all new to me.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I was in like high school when I started, and then I got caught up really quick. And I promptly forgot because I was caught up. And I was like, oh yeah, college happened. And then I remembered in college, I watched a couple episodes, and then I promptly forgot about it altogether. And I was like, Devin's favorite anime is Dragon Ball, and I was like, it has a lot of filler, man. I don't know if I can do it. And we made a bet that if he ever started One Piece, I would start Dragon Ball. And so he did, and so I was like, okay. And so I got all the box sets, and then he goes, "Hey, let me know when you're gonna watch Dragon Ball." And I was like, "I'm already caught up." And he goes, "What?" And I'm like, "I'm already caught up. I've read all of it. I'm on Super, I think is what it is, and I'm about to be completely caught up." And he goes, "How? I left you alone for like a month. How?"
I know it's that dedication and just getting into things too. I'm like, might as well just kind of go all in on it.
Hmm.
Because with One Piece, I was 100% a hater and a denier when I first started. I was like, I gave the same speech everyone else did. Why would I watch something that's 1,000 episodes long? This is stupid. It can't be that good if there's that many episodes. Like, they've got to be compensating or something. And then I was getting ready for a convention in December. So it was for this one holiday convention. And I was like, I'm going to actually sit down and I'm going to try watching it. It's probably not going to be good. It's probably going to be the worst thing I've ever seen. And then I start watching it and then I'm like, okay, this is all right. This is all right. And then I start really getting into it and I'm like, okay, this is actually pretty good. And then I just kept going. And, before I knew it, I hit like Marineford War, crying my eyes out, getting further. There's stuff in like Dressrosa and stuff that had me crying my eyes out. Like everything, like the time skip, cried my eyes out. It was just crying like over and over and over again. And I'm like, it it touched me emotionally, and that's what I love is when a show like really gets to the emotions. And I was like, man, this is actually really good. And because my favorite character is Sanji, and the first thing I said about him was he has stupid eyebrows. Like, why would why would people like this character? And now I'm just like, the curly eyebrows, I love them. They're my favorite thing. It's like I just went from being a hater on everything to being like, they're my favorite thing ever. I love them.
See, I love Sanji, but I only love him when he's not talking because I'm like, who let you out of the kitchen? But no,
Listen, he's got his flaws, okay? I'm not going to deny that.
I know, but I love him. But at the same time, I hate him. I'm like, I love Usopp too, and I hate Usopp at the same time because I'm like, you're such a coward. And then if anybody disses him, I'm like, how dare you talk to my son that way?
Yeah, it's like I have not really found, at least from the Straw Hats, I haven't found anybody that I don't like,
Yeah,
which is crazy because I've had, a lot of shows where you kind of have that one weak character, like that you kind of weakly emotionally
yeah, the
attach
dump
to.
stat character basically.
Yeah. And One Piece doesn't really have that in the crew, which is
Hmm.
really awesome, because everybody has their own thing. Like, of course, they have their own flaws, their strengths, their weaknesses. And it's like, but you can't really like hate them.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so sorry to the people who love, Sakura from Naruto, but I can't stand Sakura as a character.
See, that's the funny thing. Me and Devin have been talking about it because I've read the comics and we were both Naruto fans, and that was like the common ground for us. But we're like, Sakura is trash, but only in the anime. Like they did her really dirty because she's not as useless in the manga or as whiny in the manga,
I
which
haven't,
is
I haven't read the manga yet, so
oh yeah.
yeah.
But I know, speaking of crying, I know with One Piece, I have cried a couple times and several times in front of my girlfriend. And Devin's like, it will tease me about this because I know when the Going Mary dies, I cried. And they're
Mhm.
like, you cried over a boat? And I'm like, I absolutely cried over a boat. Why would I not have cried over this boat?
I cry. I mean, granted, I'm a crier about everything. Like, it could
Hmm.
be happy crying, it could be sad crying, but things like that were just in, what was it, episode 6, I think, with Shushu the dog, who's like protecting
Yes.
his little, his
The
shop
little
and
pet
stuff.
shop.
Yeah, that had me crying. That was like the first thing that really hit me was that. And then like Nami's backstory and her asking for help from Luffy and everything to, take down Arlong, like that had me just. And then even things like Laboon, I was like, it's a sad, depressed whale. He's sad everyone's gone. And I just, like as we went, it's like they make basically like every character have meaning to the show.
Hmm.
And that's what I really love because it's like you are most likely to see the character again later.
Yeah.
Like I have my friend Megan who plays Neko Yamada in My Dear Friend Nokatan. I got her into One Piece and she has her favorite. She likes Smoker and like Mihawk and stuff. And she's like, do they show up later too? And I'm like, I'm like, you're pretty much everybody, you're gonna see them again.
Yep.
Like it's the continuity of the show is really nice. I love that because I feel like a lot of shows you'll get a character randomly that you're like, oh, I love this character, never see him again. You know?
So I know you may not read the manga, but one thing that I really do enjoy, nobody really dies. The SBSs, so like the little cover between chapters,
Hmm.
has like a little story that goes through, and then so a lot of characters come back, and they're just doing stupid stuff. Like one of them opened up a hot spring from Sky Island, and he's just living his best little life.
I I have I think the first 4
Mhm.
manga. I just haven't read them yet and I want to collect all of them, but I'm one of the people that kind of wants to collect them in order, so I'll go to
Mhm.
like the bookstore and stuff and if they don't have number 5, I'm just like I don't need to buy any today, like I want to get them in order. It
Oh yeah.
also helps me to save money so I'm not like just throwing all the money out there at once being like, "Oh yeah, I'll get volume 101, I'll get volume 89, get like 7 volumes in one go." I'm like, "No, we'll do it in order. If it's not there, you don't spend the money."
Oh yeah. That yeah. My girlfriend appreciates that we have Crunchyroll now, so we don't
Mhm.
spend as much on manga.
Yeah, and I love having the physical manga, like,
Hmm.
during, the pandemic. So, my favorite, anime was Hunter well, I say was Hunter x Hunter, it still is, but One Piece is k One
Getting
Piece
there.
kind of took over, and yeah, it kind of took over, but that was like my first anime love was Hunter x Hunter. And when COVID came around, that's when I started collecting manga because again, I'm a late bloomer when it comes to anime and stuff. I didn't start until COVID really.
Hmm.
And I was just collecting all of the manga for Hunter x Hunter, and I remember I think it was volume 32 or 33 for some reason I couldn't find it anywhere. And like, everything was slowed down as far as like, things printing because of COVID. And I ended up buying one of the manga for like $50 because I could not find it anywhere. And it was on Amazon. And that was like the only thing. Like Amazon wasn't doing it. Barnes and Noble didn't have it nowhere. And I was like, I need to complete this set. So I spent like $50 on one manga. And I'm like, why I could have waited, but I don't know. I was so into the zone of like I
Yeah.
need this complete set right now. So I'm like, damn it, $50 is fine. I'll spend it.
I know that so we used to go to a coffee shop a lot, and then I would sit and read, and my girlfriend would work on like music, and I would bring a book bag full of just loose mangas, and she goes, what is in your bag? And I'm manga, and I would like just
Hmm.
slowly stack up the table more and more, and she goes, where were you keeping those? And I'm like, my book bag.
Yeah, pretty much. Like my collection has kind of because I wanted all the Hunter x Hunter for sure, and then I've got like some. I think I've got like 3 or 4 volumes of Demon Slayer. I went to it was like a local anime shop that we have, and they have occasionally just random manga that they have for sale. I'm assuming people like sold it to the shop or like donated it, and they had like the first I think it was like 10 of Assassination Classroom, and I had
Mhm.
just watched the anime, and it was like 10 of them for like $20, and that's like a really good deal. So I ended up buying that. There's this one that's called Rooster Fighter, and
Yes,
have you heard of that one?
I have, and I saw it a lot on your stuff, and I'm really curious to know how
Yeah.
it is because it's one of those where I'm like, I don't know what you're about, but you're interesting. One of these days, I'm gonna
It's
look into you.
So obviously, like, if anybody knows me, I love chickens. And so that kind of spoke to me because I was shopping around, the bookstore, and I look and I see Rooster Fighter, and I'm like, what is this? And at first Rooster Fighter sounds like something where they have like roosters fighting each other, like
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. That's not good. And so I picked it up, and it's about like this rooster that has these like abilities and stuff and ends up fighting like demons, and he ends up having like a hen sidekick, and they have a lot of callbacks to like actual things about like roosters and stuff. Like the one hen like saw him mating with another hen and stuff. He's like, it's just my instinct and stuff. Like it's so funny. It's like a mix of humor, but then there's also some serious like emotional bits in there too.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just him fighting these demons with his rooster crow, and it's good from what I've read. I mean, I think I read the first 3 or 4 volumes of it, and I'm like, I like it, but I also am biased towards chickens, so I'm like, of course I like it. But I mean, it is good
Hmm.
overall. I do like it.
Okay.
And they're making an anime too. I'm not sure when that's coming out, but I think it was Viz Media posted some kind of like sneak preview of it, but I haven't heard anything since. And I'm like, I want
Okay.
to see it in action.
I'll definitely be on the lookout for rooster related content.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh. And speaking of like chickens too, oh my gosh. So I was just at a convention this past weekend in Tallahassee. It was called FreeCon. And one of my new friends, her name's Mia Page, she's also a voice actor. She voices in like Genshin and Fatal Fury and stuff. But I met her for the first time, and I spoke to her about my love for chickens, which I also have like a tattoo of a rooster on my
Hmm.
arm. It's a bad it's not a bad addiction to have to love chickens. It's gotten bad, but no, she was like, oh, I have a surprise for you, hold out your hands and close your eyes, and then she handed me a little crochet chicken, and I was like, this is so cute. Like, we had just met like maybe an hour before, and she's like, oh, here's a little crochet chicken, and I was like, this is so cool. And that was the first one I've ever had. And then a little bit later, I think it was on the Sunday, this person comes up to our table and they wanted us to sign their Nokotan manga and everything. And they're like, "So what's with all the chicken stuff?" Because I have my VTuber that is a rooster girl, and I was like, "Oh, I just really like chickens." And she's like, "We are one of the artists here and we actually have chicken stuff." She's like, "I'm going to send my husband over." So he comes over with a little bucket full of like crochet chickens and he's like, "Here, pick one. My wife said that you really like chickens." And I'm like, "Yes." And so I got one of those. So then I had like my two little crochet chickens from the con. And then the other day I'm at home and my husband gets home from work and he's like, "Close your eyes, put your hands out." And I'm like, "Okay." And he hands me another crochet chicken with a crochet egg. And I'm like, this is the coolest thing. Like, this is I want more crochet chickens just so I have like a little flock of them.
Hmm.
But it's like the fact that somebody came to our table and was just like, sign this Nokaton stuff. Like, we really like your guys' work. And then for them to just be like, "Oh, here's a little gift." I'm like, that's so cool. But yeah, so things like Rooster Fighter, anything that's like chicken related, I'm like, yes, I love this. I'm trying to think if there's other stuff like I don't know, just anything that has like a chicken in it. I'm like, I'm down to watch it. Like, I need more stuff. But
Um,
yeah.
Here's a little personal story. So when I was a
Hmm.
kid, I could crow like a rooster. And so we went up to the mountains for my uncle's funeral, and my mom's like, "Hey, you can either come with us to graveside, or you can stay in the car." And I was like, "I got my Game Boy. I should be fine here. Really don't want to walk all the way up there. It's cold, so I'm just gonna stay in the car." So little ADHD Kyle got tired of waiting, so I let out the biggest crow,
Oh
and
my
then so they're
god.
all at graveside, and all they hear is a rooster crow. And my mom knows it's me, and she's like, "It better not be him." And all of a sudden, all the chickens in like there's like that area is like a really big like chicken area, and so all the
Yeah.
chickens just started going crazy, and they could only thing they could hear, they couldn't hear the priest at all. Only thing they could hear were like chickens going crazy, and my mom knew. My mom just knew it was me, and I had in so much trouble for that.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Gosh, because I've got several chickens of my own, and they get themselves like worked up. One of them will make a noise, and then they all just join in, and it's so loud. Like people are like, roosters are the loud ones, but hens they are so loud because they do this thing where when they lay an egg, people call it the egg song because as soon as they lay an egg, they start doing this noise, and they just keep doing it and to just tell people like, "Hey, I've laid an egg. Come here, look." And there's like that noise. They're just noisy. And people are like, "It's the roosters that are noisy." I'm like, "No, the hens are just as bad." Like people are like, "Don't have a rooster because they're loud." And I'm like, "The girls chat all the time. Like they're always chatting with each other. They're making all kinds of ruckus." And I'm just like, "You roosters will crow, yes, but the hens will sit there and make consistent like a lot of noise at once." So I'm like, leave my boys alone. I love my boys, my little roosters.
I may skip forward in my questions a little bit, but you have chickens, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are any tips for raising chickens?
Oh my goodness. So if you want chickens that are going to like you, it's best to hand raise them when they're babies, when they're little hatchlings, because they will associate you with, I mean, that's like a lot of animals. The more you like get to know them and more that you handle them, the more likely they are to like you. But people with roosters, they have a really bad thing with them because they're like, "Oh, they could be nasty, they could be mean, I've been attacked by them and stuff." And I've been attacked by mine, but not like really bad
Hmm.
necessarily because sometimes they could be like really bad, but I'll explain why it's not really bad for mine. But my very first chicken I ever had was a rooster, and I hand raised him, and I had him where I was like, he was on my shoulder all the time. Like we'd hang out. I'd have him in the house. He'd like sit on my head and stuff. And he just grew up to be very, very gentlemanly, I guess is
Hmm.
a good word for it. And he was protecting his flock, his girls and everything. So he was doing his job. But he was nice to us because he's like, "Oh, you guys have food for me, you take care of me." So roosters can 100% be super nice if you hand raise them. Sometimes it doesn't work. but for the
Mhm.
most part it does. And so my current rooster, he's small. He's a little guy. He's not he's not a very big rooster. And he has like these, so they have spurs, which is what people are afraid of, the long, like
Mhm.
literal spurs on the back of their legs, and they can be really pointy. Well, his, for some reason, when they grow out, they're really blunt on the end, so they actually don't like pierce skin or anything like that. So when you kind of get hit by his, it's just kind of like getting like bopped. It's not, it doesn't hurt or anything. You're just kind of like, oh wow, that was an inconvenience. He just ran into the back of my leg. Sometimes I turn around and I'm like, what just hit me?
Mhm.
But yeah, so he's a little bit more feisty than my first rooster, but again, he's not much of a harm when he's so small and can't damage anything anyways. But yeah, with chickens, hand raising them and just having like an area for them to be able to freely move about while also having cover to go under, because there
Mhm.
are predators. We've lost a few to predators. Fortunately, the raccoons will absolutely get your chickens. And then I want to say one got taken by a hawk. I It
Mhm.
was like a middle age, like not middle age, but it was like between a baby and an adult. And we just saw feathers the one day, and it was in broad daylight, so it could only have been like a predatory bird or something. But we have like cover and stuff. We have trees, so they can go under there and make sure that, they're not getting attacked by anything. And they're really easy, and they're just fun to watch because they do they call them dirt baths, where they'll sit in like a place that has like some loose dirt, and then they just kind of kick up the dirt onto their back and onto their wings, and then they stand up and they shake it out, and that's just kind of how they keep themselves maintained. But watching that's always fun. Just watching how they interact with each other. They all have their own little personalities. I have one, Dixie. Oh, she's so mean. People say roosters are mean. Dixie is mean. We have these two chairs that we have outside in our backyard, that I'll sit on one of them and just sit outside for a bit, because believe it or not, going outside does help your mental health.
Mhm.
Seeing the sun every once in a while does help. So I'll sit out there, and she'll get on the chair next to me, and she'll kind of like look at what I'm doing. I'll be on my phone, or I'll be doing some kind of like word puzzle or something, and she'll just peck. Like, she does not care. She will peck you, and it hurts. Like, she's not nice about it. It's like I don't do anything to her. Or if you have like freckles and stuff, they go after freckles because it looks like food. Like, there's a specific part, this one part on my tattoo right here. It kind of looks like a little like seed basically, and they've pecked that so many times, and it hurts because
Mhm.
they're like going at it as if it's food.
Oh yeah.
So they're easy to maintain. It's just you got to watch for some that have attitude problems.
I know we never had chickens, but we used to have like parakeets. Because
Mhm.
one day we were known as the animal family in our subdivision. So a bunch of kids knocked on our door and they're like, "Hey, we found this bird. We knocked it out of a tree with a stick." And my mom's like, they're like, "Is this your bird?" And they're like grabbing it, holding it like white knuckle
Oh my
fist,
god.
squeezing this little bird. And mom's like, "No." And they're like, "Does it have to have water to survive? Can we feed it dog food?" And my mom's like, "My son's gonna be home in a little bit. Yeah, we'll take that bird. We'll make sure it's safe." So we ended up keeping him. And that
Mhm.
ended up getting more parakeets. And so I had a really good relationship with these little birds. I would clean out their cage. And I would take them for like little walks. They would like sit on the back of my shirt, and I would just
Mhm.
walk around going throughout my regular. My sister is terrified of birds.
Oh
So
no.
she would scream, scaring the birds, and try to like climb up the wall to get away from them. And I'm just like, what are you doing? They are not hurting you. They have not moved. And so then every single time, without fail, she would scream, spook the birds. But I remember they would just like sit here, and they would like do like this on my cheek, and then just like hang out. I loved having them.
We have several birds now other than the chickens. I was never a bird person. I never was. And then I was unfortunately influenced by TikTok,
Hmm.
which, I was like, "Oh, I want to get a bird cuz they seem like fun." I mean, they're a lot of work, but I had my chickens for I started having chickens like 7 years ago or something. So it's like I started with them, and then as TikTok, kind of became bigger and everything, and people had their parrots and stuff, I was like, "Oh, this would be so cool to have a parrot." And just one day, because I was like, I want a cockatiel. My husband said, he's like, "You know how you've been wanting a cockatiel?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, I actually know some people that it was like a family friend, and he's like, they are actually getting rid of their cockatiel because they are retired and they want to travel and everything. And he's like, do you want it? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, like that's crazy timing. And we ended up getting her, and she's probably like 17 now. We got her like 2 years ago, maybe.
Hmm.
And she's a cranky old woman. I'll tell you that. She is. She was not handled a whole lot, you know? She was just kind of in the cage. So she does not really care for us, you know? She's more scared and all that. So we just kind of give her space and everything. And then I saw another TikTok of somebody who had a lovebird, and I'm like, those are really cute and stuff. And then a few days later, my husband's like, hey, I know somebody who's getting rid of their lovebird. And he's like, do you want that? And I'm like, yeah, you know. And again, this bird does not love us. Lovebirds are the most incorrectly named creature I have ever met. Everyone
Yeah.
who has a lovebird, for the most part, is like, yeah, they hate everything. And like she's a cutie, and she'll try to like learn to step up and stuff, but she will bite. She will bite, and it does not feel good.
But yeah,
But
one of our parakeets was we named Snappy because for the longest time before he got comfortable, it was the one that we rescued. He would snap at you and
mhm. Yeah.
like try to pinch
Oh
at
yeah.
you, and
Yeah.
he was really good until eventually he got really good with me. But every once in a while, he'd get bored and be like, "I can cause problems. I'm gonna cause
Yeah, pretty
problems."
much.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. And so we got the lovebird, and you know, she's just doing her thing. And then the next thing that I ended up like fixated on was pigeons. And I was like, I would love a pigeon someday. What do you know? Someone my husband knows was giving up a pigeon and some budgies, some parakeets, and we ended up taking them in. And pigeons are definitely not the smartest creatures. Just in by nature, they are not the smartest creatures. She is a lovely bird and she's gorgeous. I love her. But she's just not the brightest thing, you know? I don't know if you've ever seen videos of pigeons making nests and
Hmm.
stuff. Like it's like three twigs and then an egg. That's kind of how it is for us too. It's like she doesn't really know how to function as a bird, I guess. Like they just don't really know how to be birds, you know. Having these these birds and stuff, like it's such a, you know, long-term commitment. Obviously our cockatiel, with her age and everything, you know, we're only going to have her for so many more years. The
Hmm.
lovebird will be around for a while. Because we got her when she was only like a few months old. Our pigeon and the budgies, I don't know how old they are. They didn't really know when we got them, because also the pigeon was formerly a carrier pigeon that got lost, pretty much. So we don't know how old she is or anything. And like we have a snake and stuff. So we have a lot of like long-term pets, and we've had them for, 7+ years at this point. And it's like I love like having the animals because it does also help with, I talked about like mental health earlier too. It helps me because it requires me to get up and do stuff even when I don't feel like doing it, because it's like
Hmm.
these babies need me in order to, live their life to the fullest. So I'm like, I'm able to get out of bed and, take care of them, spend time with them, feed them, give them water and everything. And it gives me something to do too, you know?
Hmm.
So it's like, you tell yourself, it's like, if you don't get up, they're not going to eat for the day. So it's like, you have to. So
Hmm.
it's an obligation. Like you have to be able to get up and do it. So as much work as they are also helpful to me too, to be able to, do something good rather than just mope around or something, be depressed or whatever. So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Oh no, I love animals. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a zookeeper, and so I had
Mhm.
a bunch of dogs. I had turtles, birds, fish. And my mom would call me Snow White because I would go for a walk in the neighborhood and I would come back with animals. I've come back with cows, deer, dogs, birds. It doesn't matter. Something's following me home.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah. I Part of me thinks that the reason I'm so like, I want animals now, because I've always wanted animals too, but we couldn't have them. My dad was allergic. And so I was a hermit crab kid, I got the hermit
Hmm.
crabs and I got fish and stuff, anything that was like small and in a tank basically. And so once I became an adult and I moved out and everything, I'm like, I can have pets now. Like I can have actual pets. And so I just, that just kind of became like part of me now is having these animals because, I love them to death, all of my animals, even the ones that don't like me. I still love them to death. It's like
Oh yeah.
some people get rid of like one of our the birds that we got was because this person's wife hated birds and she's just
Hmm.
like, I don't want these in my house. And I'm like, why not? Like they're just doing their thing, they're just making their noise and stuff. And she's just like, I don't like birds. And I'm like, we'll take them then. Like I like birds,
Oh
better to
yeah.
have a house that loves them.
We got one of my friend's cats. And I feel so bad because we have to get rid of her 'cause she's not good with our cat at all.
Mm-hmm.
Bless her. Like you're talking about the pigeon. She's a special little girl. So we'll just hear stomp, 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 and she runs. I'm gonna have to put down the mic real quick. She runs like this, and then I'll catch her chasing her stare, and she'll just like she'll stare at you, but one eye's going one way, one's going the other way, and I'm like, oh baby, I'm so sorry we can't keep you. You're so sweet, but you don't get along with our other
Oh.
cat.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I looked it up, and I was like, I wonder, I wonder what's wrong with this cat. And so I'm googling, and I'm like, oh no, she's got autistic traits in cats. And I'm like, this explains a little bit. You're so sweet, but this is like the first animal that we haven't been able to like longevity. But we've got
Mm-hmm.
a, we've been talking to somebody, and they may take it, and we're so glad that she gets a home. But
Yeah.
the
It's always
entire
good to put them like, somewhere where they're going to be loved and
yeah.
and not have to like fight with another animal or something.
Oh yeah. So the cat, our cat. So like throughout the conversation of the birds, out of the corner of my eye, all I see is her jumping across, back and forth. We call it NAS cat mode. She was she's our little baby. She's my baby. We went to the animal shelter, which we rarely do because most of our animals I've ever had. They just find me. Like I'm out and
Mhm.
about and like we couldn't find them a home, so we're keeping them. But we went to the animal shelter and we were looking at a bunch of animals and we were like so set on getting a little kitten. And we go up to this one and there's this cat that refuses to leave the cage. And I'm looking at this cat and this cat's looking at me and she's like, I'm scared of you. And so I stick my hand. She's really nice. She gets out. She's just running away and she's so scared and we're like, did you tell me about this cat? And they're like, honestly, she's been here for a month. She's scared of everything. She's this little scaredy cat. And so I was like, I look at my girlfriend. I'm like, we're getting this cat. She goes, what do you mean we're getting this cat? I'm like, this cat has this cat has anxiety. I am going to get this cat. And so we got her, and she just hid, and my girlfriend blocked up the couch so she couldn't hide under. And I was like, hey, I think this is a bad idea. And then so she's wandering around, she's exploring since she doesn't have that hiding spot.
Mhm.
Well, we can't find the cat, and so we're like, there's no way could have gotten out. And so we did some googling. She was stuck in a wall. So in our little apartment,
No.
the way the cabinets are, there's this like little hole like this big, and she slid through and couldn't get out. And so she was there
Oh,
for
poor
like
baby.
3 days. And so we contact our people that we rent from, and we're like, hey,
Mhm.
our cat's stuck in the wall. And we showed them like pictures and all this. We put in a maintenance request to get her out. Nothing. And I go to the office. I'm ticked off. And they're like, oh, we canceled it. And I'm like, what do you mean can't you canceled it? And they're like, oh, it's a little kitten. We can get her out. We don't worry about maintenance. They're doing other stuff today. And I'm like, she's not a kitten. She's a cat. She's like 6 months to a year old. She's gonna have to be cut out because she can't get out.
Yeah.
And so they go there, they grab onto her arm and just start pulling. And I'm just like, and it's this little leasing girl in a short skirt. And I'm just like staring daggers at her because I'm worried about my cat. And she goes, well, at least I wore shorts under this. And I'm like, I don't care about you. I want my cat to be safe.
Right, right.
And then
Just like,
so
please.
eventually they're like, we can't get her out. She's too big. And I'm like, yeah, you don't say so. And so
It's
we
like
spent
as if we said that before.
yeah. And so they ended up getting the firefighters to come cut her out because they
Oh,
refused to
wow.
get maintenance to do it. because they didn't want to admit they were wrong. And so the firefighters show up, they're right across the street, and they're like, "We don't normally do this." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know." And they're like, "We're both of us are mad at the other having to be here." And so they cut her out, and she comes out, and because we were just having to feed her through a hole, and we were so
Yeah.
concerned. And then so she's out of the hole now, which is lovely. She's now come into her own now that she's not stuck in a wall anymore. But oh my gosh, it was so much anxiety and fear for this little cat that
Yeah.
was stuck in a wall.
Yeah.
She's a little hellion now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
She's not shy anymore. She screams at me if I come home late from work, and she's so
Sounds about
vocal.
right.
Yeah, she's my
Yeah.
baby though.
Yeah, it's so funny how me and my it's weird to say me and my dog met,
Hmm.
but when we first got him, it was from one of my husband's friends. He had a few dogs and they were like, "We can't have all these dogs. So are you guys interested?" And my husband was like, "We probably shouldn't get a dog." And then I was like, "Well, I think we should." But he kind of knew that I was going to end up getting the dog anyways, but I went over to his friend's house and I was like sitting on the couch and everything, and I wanted to pet the dog that I now have. And the dog like screamed at me, like not barked, like screeched at me. Like he was so scared and he didn't know what was going on. And then now we're like 7 years later, we're best friends. He's my little guy. He follows me everywhere. If I'm going to bed, he's going to bed. If I'm going outside, he's going outside. Like anywhere I go, he's going. And so, like, not a similar story to yours, but something where this happened, I think yesterday or 2 days
Hmm.
ago. And so I had been cleaning the house. And so I was going outside and coming back in. I was taking the trash out. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, it's been real quiet. Where's my dog? Like, usually he's right behind me. And it had been like a little bit. And so I'm asking my husband, I'm like, do you know where he is? And we have had moments where we've accidentally like closed the door to the garage, like when he's out there. And so he got like stuck out there. So my first instinct was to check out there and he wasn't in the garage. And I'm like, oh my God, where is he? And I'm calling his name and everything. He's not coming to me. And then I open the bathroom door and the poor thing just comes trotting out of the bathroom. And I was like, we locked you in the bathroom. And like, I felt so, because he wasn't like making noise or anything. Like, he wasn't howling or crying. He was just in the bathroom. And I was like, the poor thing. And it's so funny because he doesn't know what to do. He's like, I don't know, I'm just stuck in here. But it was only for like maybe couldn't have been more than like 20 minutes or something, but I was like freaking out for a second because again, he's usually, if anywhere, he's in the garage or like my computer room, and he just wasn't there. And I was like, oh my God, did he like get outside with me when I went to take out the trash? Because I'm usually very careful to make sure he doesn't go out into the front yard. And it's like, I was like the worst case scenario, and then he was just in the bathroom, and I'm like, thank God he's still here, like
Oh
he's
yeah.
just in the bathroom, not outside or something. But yeah, I was having a moment of panic. It's like,
Oh
oh my
yeah.
God.
So our next question, we kind of got very sidetracked. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
I know. No, it's okay.
What is the cosplay that has the most meaning for you?
I would have to say, and it's not one that I do very often anymore, but it has to be my Junko Enoshima
Hmm.
cosplay, mostly because it in a way kind of helped me to get to where I am today, and my chickens, because I have the one video that went viral in 2019 of me using my chickens as a gun to an audio, or it's like pew 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 pew, and that went viral at the time, and that's where like the following came from for what I'm doing and stuff. It it kind of, I would say, gave me confidence to kind of do more, I guess, like more out there stuff, because when I was when I was in college, I wanted to audition to be a character performer at Disney,
Hmm.
and I just didn't. I was like, "Oh, this would be really cool, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to go do it. This is scary." And my boyfriend at the time was not really like pushing me to do it. He's like, "Well, if you don't want to do it, like don't do it. It's okay. Like if you're nervous and stuff, you don't have to do it." But that wasn't kind of like the push that I needed. When I ended up with my husband, he was telling me like, why not go audition? try it
Mhm.
out. Like it's going to be scary, but you want to do it, so go do it. So like that was kind of my first, dipping my toes into like, okay, let me go do something that's kind of out there. So then once I talked about like wanting to do cosplays, like, yeah, do cosplay and stuff. Like, you should check out this game, Danganronpa. And so I checked it out, and then I was like, oh, I really like this character Junko, because everyone likes Junko for being her crazy self. And so when I did that, and then I was getting the confidence and everything because people were, like, and it wasn't even a canon Junko either. It was literally her hair, not even like with the bear clips or anything, I don't think. And then just a tracksuit. I don't know why I had the tracksuit. But yeah, so like from that, I ended up getting the confidence to go to a convention for the first time. I'd never been to a convention. And then, some people recognized me from the video there, and they were like, oh, I love that video. Like, it meant a lot to me that I affected people, and it made them, happy. And then, through COVID and everything, it's like I had cosplay as kind of, my stay at home activity. Like, everybody had, something that they had to kind of pick up at home because we couldn't go anywhere.
Mhm.
So that cosplay just kind of helped me branch out. It helped me meet new friends and everything, and kind of get into this community. And then a few years later, when I decided to do voiceover, I actually had a friend that I can't remember exactly what the situation was, but anyways, we ended up talking, and he's like, "Oh, you cosplay May from Overwatch. I've seen your stuff." Like, he saw it beforehand, and so that was kind of like our first point of talking was about that. And then, we ended up talking about voice acting, and then he's, been my friend since the beginning of my journey. So it's like Junko really helped kind of like spark that flame of like creativity and wanting to continue following the passion and everything. And then by some wild way, it ended up where I'm at now. So
Mhm.
she definitely means a whole lot to me. If I were to say what character that I that I crafted completely that means the most to me, it'd probably be my my buggy cosplay, because it took so long. It was 50 hours to sew the jacket itself, plus like painting on the jacket, making all the different outfit pieces, because everything was sewn by me. The only thing that wasn't made by me were the boots that I wore under the boot covers that were made by me. So it's like
Mhm.
everything was completely made from scratch, even like the pants and everything. So I'm very, very proud of that one. But yeah.
Okay. So I think you kind of already answered my next question, but what cosplay was the most difficult to create?
So that one actually, I wouldn't even say was necessarily the most difficult. I would say
Hmm.
it just took the most time. My Chopper cosplay definitely is up there for difficulty, because the hat was something that I had no idea how to approach. And because I knew I wanted it like the comedically like oversized thing, because Chopper is just a little guy. He's just a,
Yep.
little reindeer with a big hat. And so I wanted to give the illusion like big hat, little person, I guess. And so I was like, I don't know how to go about this. I've never made a hat before, and I want it something to be sturdy. I want it to look as accurate as possible. And it was a lot. Like, one of the things that killed me was mixing the paint, because I wanted the color to be like as close to exact as possible. So I had app on my phone that was like a color picker app, and so I was like color picking his hat, and then I was literally looking at the exact like hue of his hat, and then I would look at like the levels of like red, green, and all that stuff, because I kept like mixing colors that weren't quite right, and I was like, what is wrong with this? It's missing something. And with the color of his hat, you would assume add more red or something, because it's like a reddish pink. But I needed to add like blue or something in there, like something completely different. And I got that from the little color picker thing. And I was like, well, there's like the teensiest little bit of this color and the teensiest bit. And so I mixed those, and I was like, oh my God, this is like the perfect color. And then I had to make like enough of it consistently to cover the entire thing. And that took me so long. And then making the antlers, that was a whole adventure, because I'm like, I have an idea of how to make this, but I'm kind of winging it, which is a lot of cosplay. It's a lot of just, I think I know how to do this, but I also have no idea. So making those and then putting them onto the hat, that was the biggest thing. How am I going to put them onto the hat? And so I kind of went for something that I was so scared to do, where I just stabbed holes into the sides and then I stuck them through and then glued a piece of foam on the inside to the back of it. But I was so scared because I'm like, if this does not work out, now I have two gaping holes on the side of this hat that I just spent so much time on. And if it doesn't work, it's going to look ridiculous. So I really took a chance and I was scared, but it worked out for the better.
Oh yeah, so Chopper's like my favorite One Piece character. He's just a
Mm-hmm.
little guy. And so I was like, I was looking through your stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. My favorite prop that I've seen you make is the hat, because I was like, that
Yeah, oh
is
my
awesome.
gosh. So many people, because when I go to cons, I usually do like a cosplay panel. So I'll bring the
Hmm.
hat with me and people will see it in my little wagon that I pull around and they're like, that's Chopper. And it's just like this big thing. And on the underside of it, on the brim, I actually have it signed by Robbie Damon, who voices Odin in Wano, which I haven't gotten that
Yeah.
far, but I've seen clips and stuff, and then Ian Sinclair, who voices Brooke. I got them
Hmm.
to sign it, and I want to get like more and stuff. But the con that I went to, where I met like all the straw hats and stuff, I didn't have the hat with me, but it's like it's a cool little thing that I'm like, oh look, this is on the inside of it.
Hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So our next question: what has been your favorite thing to voice act for?
Oh my goodness. So, of course, Toriko Koshi and My Dear Friend Nokotan has been a dream for me. I have kind of always had this mental checklist of the types of characters that I'd want to do.
Hmm.
And one of them is one that would be like main character, which she's like main character, somebody who yells a lot. And she yells a lot. I love just being able to yell and kind of be a little more unhinged with like the acting and stuff. I wanted somebody who is sentimental, and she has like moments later on in the show that she's, very sentimental about things, and she kind of reflects on, her life and everything, or like reflects on what's going on in the current events. Somebody, because she like borderlines goes like Super Saiyan at one point and stuff. So I wanted something that had like that gruffness to it. So being able to play her was like a dream come true, and it was a character that I never thought that would be the first anime character that I got to do, and she just checked all the boxes. But one thing I really do enjoy doing too are really grounded performances that are really rooted in like reality. So a character that I voiced last year and the game just came out this year is from a game called Alex Hill, and it's a like a murder mystery type of game, and the character that I voice, she has a moment that is very, emotionally charged. She has a lot of things, that are going on without like giving too much about the story and everything. But she has this kind of breakdown at the end where she's sobbing, she's having, she's kind of confessing about stuff, and she's just, rooted in this emotion, and being able to do that and bring out like that pure kind of like rawness of the character. I love being able to do that because it's something that is relatable. Because, like, sometimes in anime and animations and stuff, it's not the most realistic reactions to things, because characters are like, what? What's going on? And they're just like very over the top. So being able to kind of reel it in a character and make it close to reality is really some of my favorite stuff to do as well.
Okay. You kind of described some of my next question, but
Mhm.
could you please describe your dream character to voice?
So, if I were to ever pick a character, it would have to be the transponder snails in One Piece. That has been my dream since I started watching One Piece. I would love to voice a transponder snail. That would be like the most specific one for me, cuz I don't necessarily like to pick like certain characters, but I know you said like describe the type of character, because I
Hmm.
know some people are like, I want to be this character or this one, and sometimes they're already voiced, or, the chances of voicing that very specific character might not be, something that's
Hmm.
feasible if you're remote or whatever it is. So I kind of like to keep it to just, like you said, the traits. And I mean, honestly, any kind of character that brings out emotion in people, that brings out some kind of feeling, honestly makes people a little uncomfortable, in the sense that they're just like, wow, that actually affected me in a way that I didn't think it would, something that is maybe unexpected. So those kinds of characters are my favorite, or like just a super lovable character. Like I would love to be like the side character in something that's just like everyone's just like, oh my God, they're my favorite, because maybe they're, a little wacky, or maybe they're just really cute or something. So something along those lines.
Okay. So you regularly go to conventions. What is the coolest cosplay or thing you've seen at a convention?
Oh my gosh. So I see a lot of cool stuff, of course, because there's always cool stuff. But I was at Brick City Anime Fest, which is in Ocala, I think it was, in Florida. And I was actually the judge of the cosplay, one of the judges of the cosplay contest. And there was this really cool, they were like a Valkyrie type of character, and it was like kind of based Iron Man type style thing. I don't know if it was exactly from a specific thing, but it was so cool. They had a staff and everything, and it lit up. Like there were LEDs that were like going up and down it and everything. The armor had LEDs just like going through, and it was so beautifully done. Like they programmed it together. It was, I believe, a husband wife duo, and the husband did a lot of like the programming, and then they built it all together. And it was just the detail and everything was so cool. And then in the top of the staff, they actually have it where there's like the steam that comes out too. So it had like that coming out. And it was just a really cool cosplay. And to be able to see it up close and like look at the details and everything was a really cool experience. Just because like you'll see cosplays from afar and you can appreciate cosplays from afar, but when you get to see like the love that's being put into each piece and like seeing the detail that somebody spent all that time doing up close, such a cool experience because you know they had the passion for that.
I know I don't cosplay myself, but one thing that's always made me kind of want to do it is seeing like the people make the prompts for it. Like
Hmm.
the work and dedication, I think is so cool that it kind of makes me
Hmm.
want to do it too. Um,
Yeah.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a lot of time and effort, but it honestly, like when you start making something for cosplay, you go through like the multiple stages of denial and grief and all that stuff because you're just like, oh man, this isn't turning out how I want it to be. But it's not even finished yet, and you're like, oh, this sucks. And then you get to the finished product, and you're like, it actually doesn't look that
Mm.
bad. It looks pretty good. So it's really rewarding.
Oh yeah. So what are some of the coolest buttons you've gotten from conventions?
As far as like, what are we talking like? Yeah, what are we?
I know that on your TikTok you were talking about all the buttons that you've gotten
Oh
from
yeah.
conventions.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I would have to say I love the ones that are the silly, like my tummy hurts or like tummy ache survivor and stuff, or just ones that have like I actually one that was really cool, or a few that were really cool, was one that was gifted to me by somebody. They came to my table. It was the my first time a voice actor guesting at a con, and they actually made a button of me as Nami in
Hmm.
my cosplay and everything, and they gave that to me, and they gave me like a Hatsune Miku and then a Marine Ford War buggy, and they're just like, here, this is for you. And that was the coolest thing ever. Like those are my favorites. Anytime somebody gifts me something, like that goes to the top of my list of like the favorite stuff.
Yeah.
But I love like the buttons and stuff that say like just little silly things, or just have like just really cool art. Like Artist Alley, I live in Artist Alley when I go to cons. My wallet comes out empty, but I'm glad that their wallets get filled because these artists always deserve it. And I'm just like, give me all of your art. And having them on like buttons or enamel pins and stuff, like being able to display them, because my walls are starting to get filled up with prints and it's harder to find spots where I can actually put prints. It's like having a button or a pin or a keychain or something, just something small. It's like you can still take a little piece of their art, their creation, and display it.
Oh yeah. So our next question is very serious.
Mhm.
Off the top of your head, what is your favorite deer fun fact?
Favorite deer fun fact. Okay, so from what I've seen is that in Nara Park, where they have the deer in Japan, they will actually bow to you and
Mm.
get the crackers from you. And I think that is so cool. Like they're just so well mannered. Now I can only speak on the ones I've seen on videos, and I've seen ones where people get headbutted and stuff. Them like just bowing to you, I think is the coolest thing. I love that.
Oh yeah. So like my college degree is like ecology and field biology. So I
Mhm.
used to do like my senior project was on deer feeding habits. And
Oh.
I used to, before I like decided on my senior project, I would just like hang out at the school
Mhm.
because we're next to a huge university that has like a whole deer program. We're like a mile or several miles down the road from that bigger university. One of our guests actually went to that university, believe it or not.
That's crazy.
But we would get just have some deer on campus, and every once in a while, I'd be getting back late from my job, and I'd be walking through the parking lot. I just There was one time I was so tired. It was like 3 a.m. I was exhausted. I turn. I'm surrounded by this field of deer, and I just stuck my hand out and I petted one of them, and they were like chill with it. So I just kept walking.
Yeah, we something that was deer related that happened to me years and years ago. I was with some people and we were like deer spotting basically, like just looking for deer at night, and we were like in the back, like the country roads and everything. And we were driving by it, and I remember seeing like something in the woods that was like kind of shiny for a second, and we drove past, and I was like, I think we should turn around. I thought I saw something there. So we turn around, and as we're going back down the road, a family of 3 deer just come prancing across the road, and I was like, that is so cool. Like if I didn't see that, we probably wouldn't have seen that moment, but that was really cool.
I know you're gonna laugh at this, but at my old job, I hit a deer. So I'm driving. It's like early in the morning. I hit on the brakes, and there's just a deer standing in the middle of the road, not moving. And I'm just like
Hmm.
locked eyes with this deer, and I'm like, I've got to get to work. You got to get out of the road. And so I'm looking at this deer, and all of a sudden, I hear a thud, and I'm just sitting there. I'm not moving. I'm like parked in the road, and I turn and I look through one of the mirrors, and I see this deer just walked into my car and was like, "Where did you come from?"
That is so wild.
Yeah,
So the deer hit you. You didn't hit the deer hit you.
yeah, it walked into the car, and I'm just like, "How did you
That's
miss
so
that?"
crazy. I will say though, better a deer than like a moose. I
Hmm.
didn't realize how big like moose were until like I saw videos of them like next to people and like cars and stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm glad we've got the deer here.
I can give you a very uncomfortable moose fun fact.
Oh
So
gosh, go for it.
they love swimming and will sometimes get eaten by killer whales.
Killer whales?
Hmm.
That's wild.
Yeah, it doesn't seem right, but in Canada, killer whales will like sometimes eat mooses, meese.
I mean, I guess if they're in the water and they're close enough.
Yeah.
It's a circle of life.
Those
It's
those
so
two
wild.
things don't seem like they should interact though.
No,
No.
no, they don't seem like they would be within the same vicinity by any means.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, again, I can see it happening, but that is really weird.
it
Huh.
is. Our next question. If you could be transported into any anime, which would you choose?
I'd want to say One Piece, but I also was just talking to my friends about this last night about how I'm not sure if I'd survive. I'm like, I don't know if I'd physically survive. I mean, if we want to go for something that is like survivable and chill, it would have to be like a slice of life. But maybe like I really enjoyed the anime Kaguya-sama Love is War. I thought that one was really fun, and I think that would be like a fun one to be in. But if I had to pick a solid answer, it would have to be One Piece. And I don't know. I'm like, would I want a devil fruit power though? That's the question.
Yeah.
Or would I just want to be a regular pirate? Or would I even want to be a pirate? I'd like to think I would be a pirate. I'd like to think that, but in reality, I'd probably just be a civilian. Probably that just gets the town raided and stuff by pirates.
See, Devin always says Dragon Ball. I always say One Piece. So we got
Hmm.
the basic anime answers. But I think I have the better choice in One Piece because typically you don't really die unless the story calls for it.
That is true. That is true. You're not necessarily dying. Most of the people have not died that
Yeah.
they probably should have.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. And like I feel like I'd be one of the people that accidentally eats a devil fruit.
Hmm.
Like or you're just one of those I'm so hungry like and this food is right here. It'd probably be something stupid like that, and I'd get probably the worst devil fruit power too. Like it'd be the most useless thing that wasn't even worth it in the first place.
So we did a couple episodes like very early on when I was in like I think it was Dressrosa or
Mhm.
arc when I was in the manga on that point, and we made up devil fruits, and we're like, hey, this is the devil fruit I think would work really well for you. Here's a made up one that I think would be really fun. And Devin, I love Devin, but Devin's not very creative, and so he's like, I'm gonna give you the butter fruit, and I'm like, the what?
Butter, butter.
And I'm like, could you please explain? And in Devin fashion, he goes, it's butter. You have the properties of butter. And I'm like, once again, more information is needed. And he goes, no.
I don't know if more information is needed at that point. It's like, it's butter.
Yeah.
Sorry, this is just butter. But yeah, I see it because I had one of my friends they were talking about like devil fruits and stuff like as they were just new into the show and everything, and they're like, I think it'd be cool if like this kind of fruit existed. I'm like, it does. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, but what if like there was this kind? I'm like, yeah, that also exists. And then I'm like kind of listing off some of the not super important ones just to not give like spoilers and stuff. But I'm like,
Hmm.
oh yeah, there's this type of one and this type, and they're like, really? And I'm like, yep. I'm like, if you can think of it, there's probably a devil fruit of it already.
Are you into wrestling at all?
Like wrestling is in like pro wrestling or
Yeah.
not as no, not really, but my brother used to wrestle like, for school and stuff, so I'm
Hmm.
familiar with wrestling in general.
So we were doing an episode on like wrestling because Devin also has a sports podcast. We started off as like a radio show for in
Mhm.
college, Devin's sports podcast or show, and then it transitioned to like more sports comment or for like a podcast. And so we were looking up stuff for like more sports, the podcast, and I was like, dude, the One Piece is real. There is One Piece wrestling. And there is so many made up One Piece. There's like a whole wrestling scene for One Piece. And I was like, I didn't know this exists, but I need it in my life now.
That's wild. Yeah. Oh my gosh. One Piece has kind of infiltrated everything.
Oh yeah.
Like again, you see like the Lakers just had their,
Hmm.
the collab. Baskin Robbins in Japan now has it.
There's
I
another
have
sports
a
scene as of this week doing a collab,
mhm.
and I don't remember the name. They're also
I know there was
yellow.
like a soccer one
Yeah.
too. Yeah, was it the soccer one?
Hmm.
Because I think I saw that. Yeah, and
LA
like
Rams was
I'm going.
last year.
Okay,
Hmm.
yeah. Like, I'm going to Miami in May for a convention, and my friend down there, she knows how much I love One Piece, and there's actually two like One Piece themed restaurants that are down there, and I'm just like, I need to go to it. And she's like, yeah, if you show up early enough on that Thursday, like let's go to them. But yeah, it's just taken over, and I do kind of feel like genuinely bad for the people who won't take a chance on the show because they think it's, overrated, and it's like it's so much more than just silly pirates, and not a lot of people get that. I didn't get that at first either. I'm like, again, this is just I'm like, I don't at first I was like, I don't even like pirate stuff. I wasn't even like a fan of pirate stuff. I mean, I like Pirates of the Caribbean type of things, but I wasn't like super into them. And then it's like as you go through, like there's so many messages that apply to real life and everything. Like there's the people against the government. There's things like slavery and I'm trying to think of what was the other word, discrimination and stuff. Like there's all kinds of stuff that like apply to the real world that they put into this fictional world. And it's so crazy how they just kind of like meld it in there, but then when you look at it, you're like, wow, these things are actually happening in real life. And then you see
Hmm.
it from this perspective, and it also gives you the perspective of when people think like things are wrong or right. Like you see in One Piece that the Marines, like people think the civilians and stuff think that the Marines are the right, in the right and stuff for the most part, and that the pirates are bad. But we're seeing everything from the pirates' perspective of why the Marines are bad. And, the pirates are, for the most part, like the good people and stuff. So it's a really cool take on like how your perspective can really change like your entire outlook of a situation just by simply putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing it from how they see it.
Oh, yeah. We've got. Oh no, I lost my place. We've got one more question. Um,
Okay, yeah.
I'm not completely sure on this one. This is the only
Hmm.
one I did not really do a lot of research for. What game do you want to play on stream?
Well, if I were to pick like any game, gosh, I'm trying to think.
You stream
Because I
games,
I play
right?
a lot of games. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of, like, what games, because I just actually streamed the Cecil: The Journey Begins yesterday, and that
Hmm.
just came out Thursday, and that's a game that I voice in. So I love being able to, like, play games that I voice in, not just because I'm like, "Oh, I get to hear my voice," but, like, I get to also kind of help advertise the game and stuff because the stuff that I'm doing right now is all indie. So being able to do that is really cool, and I'm trying to think of what game, because I feel like there's games that, oh, I want to play that new Subnautica, like Subnautica 2 that's coming out. I want to play that with my friends. That looks terrifying, and it's finally going to be like a multiplayer game. And I don't really have as much of a fear of the ocean, but I know at least one or two of my friends do, and I think that's not that it's funny that they have a fear of the ocean, but I know it's going to make for some interesting moments in the game.
Yeah.
So definitely that one is like up there right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have, well, I'm gonna ask you this before I ask the last question.
Okay, yeah.
What video game is your favorite?
Oh my goodness. If we were gonna go for my all-time favorite ever, it would have to be the game Billy Hatcher from GameCube. And believe it or not, it's related to chickens, which was not something I was not into chickens when I was little, and I just happened to love them growing up. And Billy Hatcher just kind of always had a really, this place in my heart just because I used to play it with my cousins and everything. And it really brings me back to, the early 2000s and everything. And the game was just a lot of fun, but also like they had the Shrek games that were on GameCube, and the Shrek games were a lot of fun. So definitely those. But if I were to pick like a modern game right now, I would have to say, oh gosh, I loved Overwatch for a while, but I've kind of not been loving that as much
Yeah.
lately. But definitely just fun games that I can play with my friends. Like Repo has been a really good one. When Lethal Company was coming out and stuff. Just things like that where you get just kind of goofy, silly, like anything with proximity chat. I love proximity chat and playing it with your friends. So that's kind of like those are kind of like my favorite genres of games is games with your friends and maybe like horror stuff because I don't really like doing horror games by myself because I get scared.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let me do them with friends and we can be scared together.
Okay. So our last question: where can the people at home find you?
They could find me all kinds of places. So on Instagram, Twitter, or X, on YouTube, it's all Roo Ryder VA, all together, Roo Ryder VA. And then I have my website, which is RooRyder.com. If you want my cosplay stuff, that's Rapunzel, which is the first part of Rapunzel, Rapunz. And that's where all my cosplay stuff is. And now with my VTubing things, you can find me on, I believe it's at Rooster VTuber, is what it is. I wanted to do like Rooster VT, but that was already taken by somebody. So I was like, Rooster VTuber it is. But yeah,
Okay.
all of those you'll find me for cosplay, voice acting, and streaming.
Okay. Um, sorry, I was making sure all of those were in the description.
Yeah,
So
yeah, of course.
I believe that's it. Do you have any last words before we end it?
No, I was just gonna say thank you for having me and everything. It was a great conversation about pets and anime and everything. Some of my favorite stuff. So I was
Okay.
just happy to be here. Thank you.
Give it a second, and well,